Okay. So welcome to Look with PhD. I'm a psychologist here in Maroubra, Sydney, and I wanted to create a little resource for my clients and those who are thinking about recovery. Um, so, what am I going to talk about today? So, what I wanted to actually share is, this skill about observing your thoughts. It's something that I ask all my clients to do. Typically in the first couple of sessions is to practice observing what's going through their mind. It actually allows me to get a better sense of what's going on, and it also allows them. And so if you try it, you also find that you might get a little bit of insight on what goes through your mind when you're facing the kind of challenges that you do face and that are bringing problems to your life. So it's really interesting to think about that. Once you get into the practice of observing your thoughts, you want to be able to write them down. You want to get to the point of recording them. You might use a logbook or a journal or worksheets or a piece of paper. It doesn't really quite matter. But the idea of observing and recording is really key, because we find ourselves sort of caught up in this, having thoughts and then responding or reacting to them, sometimes automatically. And it's curious because when we ask, my clients, or when when I ask people, and it's like, oh, so what was going through your mind when you did that? Sometimes you don't have access to that. Sometimes you're not used to examining, inspecting what goes through your mind before you make certain decisions. And like it's not, I guess, a natural thing if you to really take the time to observe what goes through your mind when you are making decisions, difficult or easy ones. So, and this is all in the principle of really understanding your thoughts. So we want to get to the stage where you might notice that over several days of observing your thoughts, you might notice some general themes, some sort of patterns. And some of these patterns might be useful, and some of these patterns might be not so useful. And that becomes a source of, I guess, a stimulus to discuss in therapy. So the more we understand our thoughts, you're going to get a few questions that sort of come to mind. Well, first is, when do they occur? Do they occur consistently? Do they occur as triggered by a certain event in your life? Do they occur as a result of what you do to yourself throughout the day? Does it get sort of caught in a feedback loop? So that's one thing that comes up. The second one is, where do they come from? And this is quite interesting because I find that some of my clients, when they observe their patterns and observe their thinking patterns, they might start to realize, okay, well, I sort of picked this up, and I can sort of sense where this came from. It might be a family member, it might be a template of how they coped with their life previously. It might be a certain pattern that they developed that got them through a difficult time, but now that pattern is no longer that useful. It could even be a highly functional pattern that pushed them to high levels of performance, but now that same pattern is not quite as useful. It's sort of become a barrier now. So that's another question that comes to mind. Now this is where things get interesting. We'll ask, well, how does this thought make you feel? And we're starting to entertain the idea now that our thoughts have an impact on our emotions, how we feel from day to day, and that sort of as a response to what we think and how we evaluate certain events. And the last one is, how does this thought and how does it make me feel affect what I do? And this is really key, because doing is the part that everybody wants. People want to be acting towards their goals in life, or their goals for the day, or their goals for the hour. So a natural conflict that comes up is that, are my thoughts in line with what I want to do, what I want to achieve? And so that's something as a very useful skill to come up. Now, there are some really natural questions that come from examining your thoughts in this sort of detail. And in therapy, and a clinician will ask you, some key questions about your relationships with your thoughts. That is, do you think that your thoughts are totally uncontrollable? Do you think that they're right? What's the evidence for it? How so? Do you have to listen to your thoughts? Are you a slave to them, or can you negotiate with them? And you might notice something else, and it's a skill that comes with just with only a few sessions of therapy, is that can you generate more objective, truthful, and productive thoughts to help you achieve what you want to achieve? And that could be in the short term, and it could be in the long term. Now, it's interesting because in films, or there might be a joke about mind control, and when people talk about mind control, they, I guess in a sense, is they're thinking about being able to control someone else's mind, and that's not really possible. But you can control or influence or change the relationship with the thoughts in your own mind, and that's a really powerful concept. And that's something that once you have, that's now a tool. It's a really powerful tool for you to change or modify how you feel so that it's more in line with objective reality, and it's more in line with the goals that you want to achieve throughout the day. So I'll leave that there. Hope you enjoyed this little bit, and if you like the stuff here, subscribe, like, or just leave a comment. In any case, happy recovery. Enjoy the rest of the day.